So from hard news to soft news. A news release is just the facts in strict AP style. Professional bio, right up there. A pitch letter, a little bit different style, but it's still just the facts. Brochures and direct appeal emails is where you start to get to more of a mix. It's a lot of facts, but you can start writing more interesting stuff. Feature stories, it's still AP style, and there's a lot of facts, but it's written in a more interesting way. Scripts for TV, completely different writing style. Blogs, well, you want to use good writing. What type of blog you have and how you're writing for that blog might depend on the audience, so it might not be as strict of the AP style. And then op-eds. This end, you have more options for opinions, more relaxed writing styles. So when talking about advocacy and opinion, this is part of issues management, being aware of how current social, legal, professional, or economic trends and the opinions around those impact the organization. So identifying issues that could affect the organization, anticipating if, when, and how those issues will emerge, and being prepared to address those issues. Keep on top of current issues and run a regular public relations audit. So a public relations audit, it's the overall PR campaign. What is the message? What perceptions do we want the public to have? Who are the key publics, both internal and external key publics? An environmental audit. What's going on outside of the organization that could impact it or the message that you're using? And a media audit. Channels being used, traditional and social, controlled and uncontrolled, internal and external. Looking at the effectiveness of current PR tools. News releases, newsletters, website, brochures. Are they effective? Are they getting the message across? Are they doing what you want them to do? Evaluating strategy. You can use interviews, focus groups, or surveys to evaluate whether your strategy is still working. And also doing a content analysis of current media press coverage. So what is advocacy? It's public support for or a recommendation of a cause, policy, organization, brand, product, or service. So I won't sit here and play the videos, but you can go to the PowerPoints and watch them. There is the Burger King bullying. This is a good example of a corporation advocating for something that it believed in. Another one is the Ad Council. They did the Love Has No Labels about diversity and inclusion. They were creating an ad campaign to advocate for diversity and inclusion. Samsung did a thing called Hearing Hands. And again, Samsung was making a stand and taking a stance on something that they believed in to help improve their image for their business. So opinion pieces. They can be used as a platform for advocacy. Op-ed pieces, it's the opposite of the editorial page. The opinion of a named author not associated with the publication. And it's an opinion editorial. There's also letters to the editor. It's letters from readers. They're advocacy letters and linked to current issues. Increased relevance of opinion pieces by using news pegs or newsjacking. So when I talked about knowing what the current issues are so that you can hang your issues on that or figure out how your organization can angle that to draw attention to themselves, that's called news pegs or newsjacking. So news features. Soft news and how to write them. Features are soft news. They're in-depth, story-driven articles using primary and secondary sources. They're found in print and visual forms. In PR, writing for company newsletters, online newsrooms, company websites, and blogs, and they're pitched to the media. As an exercise, writing them helps build competency in strategic messaging, account planning, and campaigns. So features are not breaking news, although they can be tied to breaking news. They often have a human interest angle, and style is more story-like and less summary-like. Blogs are often soft news too. So, story type. This is a trend piece. The anatomy of the terrible anti-millennial trend piece. There's a lot of there's a lot of articles that come out, and it usually comes in waves targeting millennials and maybe how bad they are in the workplace, or the problems that millennials have, or what's wrong with the millennials. So this is kind of a trend piece building on that topic. And I just want to state that I think millennials do great things in the workplace. So, but there is a lot of those articles. So this kind of like took this, here's what all of these articles are saying, and it's such a cliche about how bad kids are these days. For the record, generation after generation, as we get older, talk about how terrible the new generation coming into the workforce is. They just maybe don't have all of the professionalism yet that we have learned along the way. So there's a story type of the profile. So this is profiling a person. This was a SUNY Buffalo State theater professor. There's also the organizational focus. So this was a piece about the new renovated part of the communications department. There's also the backgrounder. It digs deep and gives a background into maybe a social issue or problem that's going on. There's also the how-to article, how to use Uber and getting around Buffalo using the latest trends in transportation. So part of the feature story is going to be the lead and nut graph. Now in a lead in a news release, it's the who, what, when, where, why. But in a feature story, your lead is actually going to be like the hook, the curtain raiser, the introduction, the opening scene, the thing that draws them in. And it can be really fluffy, and it doesn't have to have anything, well, it has to do with what you're writing, but it can be, show some examples. But it's really not telling the who, what, when, where, why. The nut graph is going to be the second paragraph, and it connects your hook to the main subject, and in your nut graph is where you talk about the who, what, when, where, why, the important part. Like, why is this story important? Why are we focusing on this? So, a look at this article. In New York City, we like to think of ourselves as the center of the world in business, fashion, and arts. The arts, entertainment, and health, to name a few areas. But with that comes an extreme competition to be the best in the field. If you can make it here, well, you know the rest. It's really not telling you what the story is about, but it's really making you interesting. Well, now I want to know the rest. So then it goes on to talk about the music Hamilton and this person who's making a name for himself. And that's what the actual story was about. The rest of the story goes on to talk about him and his acting career, where he came from, how he got to Broadway and Hamilton, and where he wants to go from there. So that's the lead, drawing you in. And then this is the nut graph, telling you what the rest of the story is going to be about. So finding an angle. Even with feature stories, apply catnip. Is there anything newsworthy about your organization or the people in it? What else makes a feature? Primary quotes. Primary quotes are original quotes that you get yourself for the story from people. You need them. The scandal could hurt the Sabres in terms of sales of Sabre merchandise and even endorsement deals for individual players. says Faye Valentine, a public relations junior and Sabres fan. There's nothing slow about the growth of the slow food movement, said Herb Tofu, executive director of Slow Food Buffalo. So you would go out and get those quotes yourself. So storytelling. Thing about feature stories is it really hits home on that thing that human beings have about liking a good story. We are storytellers. It's ingrained in us. We like telling stories, hearing stories. Well, storytelling is about the setting, the tone, who are the characters in it, what's the theme, the plot, using symbols, metaphors, and imagery. So think about plot development when you're writing a feature story. Is there a problem that needs to be or has been solved? Adversity, was there something to overcome? Are there heroes, villains, saviors, winners, victims, losers? How did it start? What's the origin? Has it always been this way? Was there a turning point? What's different about this student? Why focus on him or her when you could focus on someone else? What's so unique or impressive about your subject? What's the significance and impact? Give an example. What's going to happen next?